This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Hi, welcome to IKEA.
This is my college campus.
Correct, but I see you're on IKEA.com ordering some college items.
My daughter's room is pretty bare. We need a lamp, some comfy pillows, her favorite stuffy.
Dad!
With pickup options, we've got what you need to conveniently order IKEA. Literally anywhere.
Sweet. More time for gaming.
And studying. Wait, where are you going now?
Got to show the ultimate Frisbee team how easy it is to order from IKEA. Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however you want. Choose from thousands of pickup locations, affordable delivery options, and more.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts.
Shell Mendelson, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It's a real pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from San Antonio. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about 5 steps to self-accommodation in the workplace. Specifically, we're going to be talking about neurodiversity, ADHD, autism spectrum. We're going to be talking about these sorts of things and how individuals can both self-accommodate, but also how organizations and leaders can accommodate for individuals,
right,
to hopefully have inclusive workplaces and have workplaces that are empowering to include everyone and have workplaces of belonging for everyone. As we get started, I wanted to share Shell's bio with everybody. Shell Mendelson has a master's in counseling with an emphasis on career and has helped hundreds of ADHD adults and young adults over the past 35 years find fulfilling and sustainable career direction. Shell is the author of the book, A Course for ADHD Adults and Teens, Unlock Your Career Path, available now for sale. Shell was diagnosed with ADHD late in life as an adult in 2010. Her book aims to help adults and teens develop confidence in taking clear next steps in their career, whether it be specific job, career path, lateral move, or with a new refined business model. Shell.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Oh, a real pleasure to be with you. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in?
Actually, that pretty much says it all. My book was launched in January, so that is a thing.
Wonderful.
Now it's available, and I still continue to work with people through the Your Next Career Move Masterclass, which I'm happy to talk about.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the book. I like to ask authors, why this book? Why now? Books are a labor of love. It's a lot of effort. You have a book, you have a master class associated with it. Why this book? Why now?
Well, the master class is actually a deeper dive. We use the book obviously as the resource, but I wrote it because it just was time. I had all the material for it. I've been doing career coaching and in the field for the past 35 years and working specifically with neurodivergent adults for the past 15 years, following my own diagnosis, which was very enlightening and really directed me to want to work with my tribe. Right. And as I was doing that throughout the process of the past 15 years, I was creating new information, new documents that were visual. I was trying to make things more neurodivergent friendly. In other words, break things down, make it more graphic, make it something that was engaging, because very often we're faced with big blocks of text in books, and reading becomes difficult and distracting. So I needed to find a way to make it more engaging. And that's what I said, okay, now I'm going to do it. I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to break down this process that I've been doing in a way that is fun and makes the idea of finding a career direction easy. And like I said, fun, engaging, and something that will last and be sustainable over a lifetime. So
Well,
that
yeah,
was
and I
that
mean
was my
that's
motivation. Yeah.
well, that's a great motivation. And that's something that everyone wants, you know. So whether you're neurotypical, neurodivergent, you know, wherever on the spectrum, everyone wants a meaningful, engaging, impactful career. And we all
Yeah.
have different life stages. We all have different developmental stages, career stages. So we find ourselves in different places at different points in time, right? And so the
Yes.
reality is we all are navigating, trying to find the right place, the right position. So I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect there
Yes.
are actually a lot of nuggets of wisdom in your materials that are probably quite applicable to everybody, not just people who are neurodivergent, because we
Yes.
all are dealing with these types of things.
Yes. Well, I like to say that for any material that is truly ADHD slash neurodivergent friendly, that
Hmm.
it's perfect for everyone, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
And before I even wrote this, I was working with everybody across the
yeah.
spectrum, neurotypical people, everybody. And it wasn't again until I got my own diagnosis that I made the shift to just focusing on our tribe, basically. But it's really important. And I saw the need to take the process that I was doing, which is really based on what color's your parachute? So I want to give cred, of course, to my mentor and teacher, Richard Bowles, who wrote the book, What Color's Your Parachute, which I had been using for years with people that process. And it's a process of identifying all the elements that make up one's ideal work. At the time, it was called the flower. I made the ship for our community to be I wanted to do basically an upgrade that just focused on this process for basically everyone across the spectrum, literally everyone. And I did that by changing the flower model to the career galaxy. So it's now each planet represents an aspect of your ideal work that
Mm.
is important to understand in terms of what are your must-haves in each one of those areas. So it's really focused on you. It's really focused on not what's going to get you the job, not what the top 10 jobs are for people with ADHD, none of that, but it personalizes what your needs are so that you are the perfect representation of what is needed for any position that you're applying for or any uh, job or whatever that you're creating. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a company, you've got to have the right topic, right? So it really focuses on what it is that we want and what's going to keep us happy. So no matter what we're doing, we're going to be fulfilled, satisfied, and it's going to be sustainable. That's the main thing. It's not going to be something that we're going to do uh, do like job hopping, or we're going to do the next shiny object kind of thing. It's going to be something that will sit with us, just like what I do. I like to use myself as an example because I've been doing this work, like I said, for 35 years, and I've been doing this process for 30 years. And I love it because it's so it's always been engaging for me. It's always given me lots of flexibility, lots of opportunity to do different things, to make shifts, to expand on what I'm doing, to write the book, to do podcast, all these things that are
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
fun for me to do, things that I enjoy doing, which this is the form of getting my message out that I prefer because I just like having conversations with people and talking about this stuff. I have written articles. It's not my favorite thing to do. Writing is not like high on my list of skills that I want to be using out there, but I write. I'm a fairly decent writer, but now there's AI. There's so many other things that can, help boost what I'm doing. And I work with amazing people. So you get to, it allows me to work with the people who can help me get my message out. And this is what I want for everyone. I want the way I feel about what I do to be what everybody gets to experience. And that's why I wrote the book. I said it's about time to get it out there in the world and have people have this easy way of really breaking things down. And easy means in the sense that the process is easy, but you're really diving into who you are. So
Yeah.
there's like a psychological, mental, emotional element to it as well, because you're getting to self-reflect quite a bit. And it's not always easy to say, this is what I prefer versus what I think the world needs me to prefer. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very
Mm-hmm.
different. It's really making it clear that this is who I am. This is what I need to be to optimize in the workplace, to do the very best work that I could possibly do for anyone, to be as productive as I can be. It starts with you and knowing what you want, right? And being able to clearly state that. So I want to
Yeah.
bring it back a little bit to when we, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to bring it back to the work accommodation thing and how that process, that piece of it, which is it's only one piece of the process, but it's one of the most important pieces. So just to, if I
Yeah.
can bring that back. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that. I think that's all a really great foundation for what I think will be the rest of our conversation today. Um, and there are a variety of accommodations that can occur. And I do a fair amount of research in this space. I'm a professor. I do,
Mhm.
consulting and things like this podcast on the side, but I'm a professor in HR, workplace dynamics, those sorts of things. And I've done a fair amount of research on neurodiversity in the workplace and in workforce accommodations and such. And the reality is, we're pretty bad at this. Still, it's gotten better, over the last decade. Things
Yeah.
have improved, but it's still there's a lack of awareness. There's a lack of both just basic policy in practice procedure towards these sorts of things on an organizational side, um, in terms of creating spaces, inclusive spaces of belonging. Um,
Hmm.
and then, like you said, and as I said in the kind of the outset, then there's the employee side. There's self-accommodation, and so we're really going to focus more on the self-accommodation side in the remainder of our conversation today. But I just want to
Hmm.
acknowledge that there is a huge other piece here, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be dismissive of that because I absolutely
Yeah.
acknowledge that employers should 100% be held accountable for accommodating and creating safe spaces and creating places of employment where everyone can contribute and contributing meaningful, productive ways. So I just want to
Hmm.
say that from the outset. Now let's dive in and talk about. I know you have 5 different steps for self-accommodation in the workplace. Let's start to pick those apart and discuss those.
I may focus on like three of them
Sure.
more heavily, but um, essentially, when we talk about self-accommodation, it's kind of a twofold thing. Like, I don't think it's always necessary to tell people that you what your diagnosis is if you know how to self-accommodate. And if you have a conversation that's very honest with your employer about what you need to be optimized in the workplace. And
Right.
so my work is to empower other people to do that, to be able to, this is what I need. And can you, under these conditions, and you can find out whether or not the employer is number one, willing, or number two, able to accommodate. And if they're not, it may not even be a good fit. You see what I'm saying in terms of the hiring part of it.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes what I find, and HR people um, understand this as you do, that I think a very high percentage of neurodivergent individuals are placed in PIP programs. And very often it's because they don't have an understanding for themselves of what their needs are to be able to articulate that. And I'm here to say that people with ADHD, we are the movers and shakers, and
Mm.
employers need us. You need
Yeah.
us to be in doing what you need us to do, and it needs to be very clearly stated how that can happen and what those accommodations need to be. So when I tell people to put together a self-accommodation plan, it's a whole process. They have to identify what works for them and what doesn't work for them. It actually starts with what doesn't work for them. So I ask my clients to just write down all the conditions that have been awful for them that have made their jobs almost impossible to do and to be productive and to feel even good about showing up every day, right? So they write this whole list, and very often you would be amazed at how long some of those lists are, right? But then we take that and we flip it around, and for each one of those conditions, I ask them to write something that would be their opposite of that, their positive side, how they can state what they need, what the other side of that concern would look like. And so that's the start of really growing your must-haves for the conditions that are important to you. It also gives you a talking point, something to discuss. Because I don't know, you tell me this, are employees able to tell you exactly what they need, what conditions they need to thrive? Are they able to have that
Sometimes, but
conversation?
usually they don't know. Yeah.
That's it. They don't know. So this is the way to really understand what your true needs are. And if you don't have that understanding, how can you possibly talk about it?
Yeah.
I know you probably work with the ADA. Well, I was around when that whole thing started, right? And it was fine for people with disability, with physical disabilities, but
Right.
with it's not particularly good for people who are neurodivergent in the workplace because it doesn't address those needs necessarily. But we're
I mean,
different.
So to be clear, it does cover those elements. It's just because they're not as obvious.
They're
It's
not as
harder.
obvious. Yeah.
It's harder for it to be covered. Yeah.
Well, it's also hard, I think, for the employee to identify it.
Yeah.
For them, what's going to be covered and what's not going to be covered, and they may be shy about it or overlook, what they actually do need because they really don't know. It's kind of like the whole process I do is to enlighten yourself about what you need to thrive.
Right.
And I think that is such an eye-opening experience for people to really be able to say, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it, but I've never been in a workplace where I actually am able to sit at the kind of desk that works for me or have the kind of equipment that works for me or be in the surroundings that even work for me because I'm so distracted all the time.
Right.
People who work in those open space environments, some people thrive on it and other people cannot do it at all. Right. And those are neurodivergent people, right? So it doesn't even matter if you're it doesn't matter what the space is. If it doesn't work for that person, it just doesn't work. So wouldn't it make sense for them to be able to say, this doesn't work for me. Is it possible for me to get it when I'm working on a project or something to get into a space that's a little bit quieter so I can focus? Because if the distractions are there and you've got this person who's got all these skills and who's beyond capable, and isn't that kind of a waste to put them in an environment that doesn't work for them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So all of these things are detailed in the self-accommodation. And when I call it self-accommodation, those are the parts that you can adjust yourself just because you know what they are. And you don't even have to talk to the employer. If you already know what they are and you're able to do some of those accommodations on your own, that allows you to have some relief, and the parts that you can't do on your own, but are necessary for you because they're up there in the prioritized must-haves. Those are the things that you can discuss with your employer and see what the response is, right? Some employers are going to be accommodating and some are not. I mean, let's face it, that's just the way it is. So isn't it better to know if there's no way you can accommodate somebody, maybe there's a way or there's a process that they can use to identify a better option for themselves versus putting. I know I'm maybe stepping out here, and it's tricky for me to talk about these PIP things with HR people because you know why. People get nervous, right? But it's better to know than not know if this person's going to be a good fit. Isn't it better for them to make the decision to leave if it's not a good fit for them than for you to have to go through this huge process to get it done? Sometimes months. And so the result is that I see these people in my class, and I know again I'm saying something that's probably uncomfortable for HR people because I've seen them kind of freak out a little bit when I say it. But isn't it better for them to know what those things are, to see it again if this can be worked out in some way? And if it can't, then the employee doesn't have to go through a process of being crushed over a period of months. And when I see them, trust me, they are crushed. Their confidence is very low. Going through the process is painful, very painful for them. And sometimes it doesn't even apply to the work they were doing or that they thought they were signing up for. Yet they've got double the pressure to get things done in a certain way. And then ultimately the result is often just getting laid off or fired, right?
Yeah.
So we all know essentially what that's about. I really want to offer employers an option for their employees and for themselves to save yourself the money, number one, of putting. I mean, how expensive is it to put people through these programs? Right. So I talk about this because it does have to do with working conditions. And it basically has everything to do with working conditions. And I hope I'm not canceled or anything, but
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, ultimately, we want to make sure it's going to work for both ways.
Both ways, exactly.
Organizations 100% have to make reasonable accommodations. It's required under law. It's required legally, but it's also required morally and ethically. So, I mean, organizations have to require reasonable accommodations, and there are times where certain accommodations in certain circumstances aren't considered reasonable, and courts will uphold that in certain circumstances. But most of the time, especially when you're talking about neurodivergent types of accommodations, most of the time those are seen as reasonable accommodations. And so the matter of the fact is, if you as an individual are aware enough to know what you need and aware enough to know what to request what you need, organizations are usually going to be required to provide it legally.
Absolutely.
And so advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself.
Advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, from the employer's perspective, how much easier would it be if somebody actually knew these things and you didn't have to go digging to figure it out? And if you are able to do it, and again, who defines reasonable? Doesn't the employer define reasonable? So reasonable for you may not be reasonable for that person. So it makes sense that the person understands that if that employer cannot reasonably provide an accommodation to them, that this may not be the best fit for them.
Well,
and maybe there's another.
The employer to an extent defines reasonable. The courts will ultimately decide whether they agree based on case law. But if an employer has a completely unreasonable threshold, there's a reasonable person standard applied to it, right?
Well, so what I'm saying is that if the judges aren't neurodivergent, they're not going to understand. So I'm telling you, you've got to be in the brain of somebody to really to understand the thinking about whether or not something's going to work or not, or whether if the employer does, is not able for whatever reason to accommodate. And this is, we're not even talking legalities. We're just talking about logic here, and
Yeah.
just what's workable. If they value that person to the extent that they know that once they get them in the right situation, they're going to have like a superstar in their hand.
Right.
They're going to
Yeah.
have somebody who's going to just fly, right? Because when you're in, I talk to so many people that really like their jobs, except for two or three things that just make it almost impossible for them, and then they end up in those PIP programs because of
Right.
those things that could easily be tweaked, right? But they
Right.
don't feel comfortable speaking to the employer about it because they feel like, what are the co-workers going to say if they get this or they get that? There's always, there are lots of things going on, lots of concerns going on all the way around. And it's also how comfortable the person is to have that conversation with the employer, if they feel intimidated or if they feel like they're not being listened to or
Sure.
they're being seen as being like a troublemaker. I mean, that happens a lot, does it not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
you bring up so many really important questions, and I just want to reiterate that it's from both directions. It's important. I mean,
from both.
really, organizations should proactively be creating a space where individuals, like to your point, they don't fear coming forward to 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 identify areas where they need accommodation. Like it should
Yeah.
be completely safe for me to come forward and say what I need.
Yeah.
And I as an employer should create that environment, right? And so then my people can self-identify, they can come forward, they can tell their supervisor, their boss what they need, and then it can go
Yeah.
both directions, and then we can help each other. And ultimately that's what
It's
we all
ultimate.
want because then we can get the most out of each other. Like we can have the best productivity, we can have the best innovation, we can have the best synergies and so on and so forth. And we can treat each other the best, right? Nobody wants to be put on a PIP either direction, right? Nobody, and
Yeah.
a boss doesn't want to put an employee on a performance improvement plan. An employee doesn't want to be put through that process. It's miserable for everybody. So, like, let's not drag people through that process. Let's just like identify what needs to happen so people can have a good employment experience. Well,
Thank you.
Shell, I know the time. I need to let you go here. The time has flown by. As we wrap things
Yeah.
up for today, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Well, accommodation and understanding what your needs are in your working conditions is incredibly important, being able to articulate it. So I'll always say that. And what I do is help people with that. And I have a class called the Your Next Career Move Masterclass, which follows a book. It's included with the masterclass. And I just work with a small group of people at any given time. I'm going on my fourth year now straight where this has been the baseline for working with me. And it's been just an incredible experience of being able to help people. So you can get a hold of me at Career Coaching with Shell, SHELL.com. And the book itself is at unlockyourcareerpath.com. So you can get started if you aren't able to take the master class, you can at least get started with the book. There's a fillable PDF version of it, which is great for college students. So I really want to emphasize that. It's the way to figure out what to major in before you make the mistake of majoring in the wrong thing and ending up graduating with nowhere to go or still uncertain. It's the way also for high school students to make some decisions about whether or not they even want to go to college. So this book is I think very, very important for people to at least begin to use to get some ideas and to begin the process. And this is for everyone again. This is for everyone. So unlockyourcareerpath.com, careercoachingwithshell.com. You can schedule an introductory call with me.
Wonderful. Shell, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Shell can do for you. Check out the book, the resources, all that she has to offer you, to help your loved ones, to help employees in your organization. And as always,
Exactly.
I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.